3 years ago, my career ended in a 10-minute Zoom call. No warning, no notice period, just a thank you for your service and a black screen. Suddenly, I was sitting in my room with no job, a $3,700 rent bill looming in 30 days, and a decision to make. Most people would panic. They'd spend those 30 days frantically refreshing LinkedIn just to stay in a city that was bleeding them dry. But I didn't. I looked at my spreadsheet, and even though my engine wasn't fully ready for LA, I realized it was more than enough for the rest of the world. I booked a one-way flight to Egypt to test the system. I've always been a frugal guy. In fancy words, I was a minimalist. I bought only the stuff I needed and always saved every extra cent for my engine. And I've always loved to travel. Not luxury travel, not the Instagram perfect kind. I wanted experiences that make you feel small in the universe, things you can't see anywhere else. Egypt wasn't random. I wanted to see the pyramids, ancient temples that had been standing for thousands of years, and landscapes that make you pause and think about time, humanity, and your place in it. And since I didn't have a job, I finally had time, something most people would give anything to buy. What was supposed to be a short trip slowly turned into a full month. And little did I know that 1 month would teach me more about freedom, money, and choice than any paycheck ever could. After landing in Cairo, I went straight to Dahab. Why? People call it a traveler's paradise, and I wanted to see why. Its beaches are famous for crystal clear waters, and the Blue Hole, one of only a few such formations worldwide, draws scuba divers from across the globe. I had never tried scuba diving before, but I wanted to experience everything at least once in life. Dahab was perfect. In my old life, this would have been someday, but someday never comes. PADI scuba certification, open water plus advanced was $350 gear included. Accommodation, hostels at $3 to $5 a day. Some travelers rent entire apartments for $500 to $600 per month and share with 2 to 3 people, but I chose hostels for flexibility. If a place didn't suit me, I could move instantly. Freedom is about options. Then came the moment I will never forget. My first dive into the Blue Hole. At first I was nervous. As I went deeper, my thoughts got quieter. No notifications, no deadlines, no pressure. For the first time in years, I felt truly present. I wasn't escaping life. I was finally living it. The water surrounded me like a world untouched by stress, and for the first time I understood what freedom really feels like. During my 2 weeks in Dahab, I completed both open water and advanced certifications. I dove repeatedly into the Blue Hole, each dive reinforcing a lesson. Freedom isn't money, it's time, presence, and courage to immerse yourself fully in life. For perspective, in the US, a same certification would cost $800 plus, not including gear, and most hostels in big cities are $30 to $50 a day minimum. By coming to Dahab, I got the experience, the skills, and the adventure at a fraction of the cost. After Dahab, I returned briefly to Cairo and headed south to Luxor, Egypt's treasure trove of ancient history. Here, I explored Valley of the Kings, Mortuary Temple of Hatshepsut, Luxor Temple, and then, further south, Edfu Temple, Kom Ombo Temple, Philae Temple, and Abu Simbel Temples, the most breathtaking of all. Each site gave me perspective. Money can't buy this, time and curiosity can. I realized I was living a life most people dream about, fully in control of my schedule and priorities. At Luxor, I spent days wandering ruins, thinking about how civilizations rise and fall, how humans obsess over power, and how small our individual worries are in the grand timeline of humanity. You can't measure this kind of experience in dollars. It's measured in awareness, perspective, and presence. Next, I traveled to Siwa Oasis, deep in the Sahara desert. Here, I camped under stars that seemed impossibly close. The desert has a quiet that is almost sacred. No cars, no city noise, just sand, wind, and the universe above. I ate local lamb cooked over an open fire and tried dates fresh from the trees, sweetest I've ever tasted. Simple meals, simple living, but it felt like luxury because it was freedom at its purest. I spent nights thinking about the choices that led me here. Most people assume freedom costs a fortune, but by choosing hostels over luxury, eating simple local food, taking advantage of cost-effective experiences, I was able to spend a full month in Egypt for less than my LA rent. And that's when I understood freedom doesn't require wealth, just strategy, courage, and clarity. Let's break down the numbers for my 30 days in Egypt. Hostels, $5 to $8 a day would be $150 to $240. Food, $3 to $6 for a meal for 3 a day for a month would be $270 to $540. Scuba certification, $350. Keep in mind that this was 3 years ago, but still now it will be a fraction of what it is in the States. Transportation, $50 to $100. The total is around $1,200 for an entire month. That's way less than my LA rent of $3,700 per month. And it included world-class diving, ancient history, desert camping, and cultural immersion. Most people think travel is expensive, but wealth without freedom is a cage. By keeping costs low and prioritizing experience over ego, I bought time, autonomy, and perspective, things money alone cannot buy. Here are the lessons I learned from Egypt. 1. Freedom isn't luxury, it's choice and presence. 2. Frugality is strategic. It's not deprivation, it's liberation. 3. Experiences greater than possessions. 4. Time greater than money. The world is accessible if you are intentional. And here's the hard truth most people struggle with. Society conditions us to equate money with worth. I went from being a corporate engineer, obsessed with status and paychecks, to realizing freedom is cheaper and more fulfilling than any luxury apartment or expensive car. I felt conflicted at first, hostel living, budget meals, but the deeper I immersed myself in real experiences, the more the cognitive dissonance vanished. Cheap doesn't equal bad. Simple doesn't equal boring. Minimal doesn't equal meaningless. By comparing my cost of Egypt to my LA rent, I reframed reality. I wasn't poor. I wasn't missing out. I was maximizing freedom per dollar. The less you need, the more powerful you become. Watching other travelers stress about money while I felt calm and abundant was a constant reminder. Scarcity is a mindset, not reality. I realized my investments, combined with low overhead, acted as a freedom engine. When the market fluctuated, I didn't panic because my survival costs were negligible. Most people equate wealth with spending power. I equate wealth with time and options. Egypt wasn't just a trip, it was a mirror. It forced me to confront my fears, my attachments, and my assumptions about life. I wasn't worried about keeping up with friends. I wasn't chasing Instagram likes. I wasn't competing for status. Instead, I was living my values on my terms. And yes, there were moments of doubt. Am I wasting money? Am I missing career opportunities? But the alternative, trading time for money, continuing the corporate grind, felt worse. I called it the post-status life. I stopped proving my worth through consumption. I started proving it through choices, experiences, and resilience. You don't need a six-figure salary or a vacation home to start buying back your time. Egypt taught me that the formula is simple. 1. Track what truly costs you your freedom. 2. Cut or downgrade the things that only feed your ego. 3. Invest the rest in experiences, skills, or assets that expand options. Even small steps compound. If you save $350 on a course or $3 a day on meals, over a year you can fund months of adventure or months of freedom. Freedom is not a distant goal, it's cumulative. Freedom is not about money, it's about decisions, priorities, and courage to live differently. The pyramids reminded me of history's scale. The Sahara reminded me of nature's scale. The blue hole reminded me of my own courage. You don't need to wait until retirement. You don't need a huge salary. You just need clarity, choice, and action. If you want to see how I continue testing freedom around the world, travel, budgets, experiments, and lessons, hit subscribe. Let's figure out how far the math of freedom can take us together.